Hope everybody provided that feedback. So if you guys have done that, can we start today's session? Or do you guys need some more time?
Harish, you can give another 5 minutes time. They have to write it, right? Just give another 5 minutes.
Thank you. Uh, Once you guys are done with the feedback, please let me know. We can start the session.
Done, Harish.
So how about others? Do you guys need still some more time?
Done, Harish.
Done from my side, at least.
Thank you. So how about Manish, Shrisha, Ramal?
Yes, I have completed, Harish.
So can I assume that everybody provided their feedback? Okay, let's start today's session. Okay, before going to start our session, guys, I want somebody from our team to tell me the flow from the view to controller, and then how we are fetching the data, and again back how we are displaying the data. So I want somebody to tell me the flow. If you guys want me to pick a person, I'll be more than happy to do that. But please do volunteer yourself.
It is from controller or view?
No, I told from view to controller and then so on. Again, how we are displaying the data. Not Shahan Ahmad.
Okay.
Somebody else, please. Maybe if you guys want me to pick, I will. How about Satya today?
Yes, sir. Is Prabhakar said request first goes to the dispatcher servlet.
Sure. Okay.
And after that, handler mapping, and after that, the controller, proper controller.
Dispatcher Servlet, handler mapping.
Yeah.
The controller.
So, yes. So after that, there's like a model and view. So model contains the view, like data and the view. It goes to the dispatcher servlet again.
Okay. So let's talk about the flow where we are fetching the data from a database. So from controller, we will be rewriting the control to service method, right? In a service layer.
Right. Yeah, service layer.
So after that, we will be going to DAO layer.
Yes, down
We'll
layer.
be
Yeah.
fetching the data, and we'll be returning all the way back to our dispatcher servlet, where it will find the appropriate view, and it will return to the appropriate view page .jsp in our case, right?
Yes, right. And once we got the data, so we displayed in the view.
Yeah. So for that, we are using model. Remember, guys, we are using model.
Model, yeah. And there is internal view resolver there to resolve the view name.
So that is here. A internal view resolver will resolve the name.
So internal view resolver take the prefix and suffix. Am I right?
Yes, correct. Perfect. So any questions on any of the topics what we covered so far? So if you guys don't have any questions, we can start the session from where we left yesterday. But before going there, let me write the agenda today. Okay. So far we implemented a couple of methods and couple of functionalities as well. Today I will implement one more functionality, and if time permits, maybe two more functionalities. 2 more functionalities, and then we'll see how we can convert this into a MVC project. Sorry, convert this into a Maven project. At the same time, we'll try to eliminate the XML dependencies. That means we'll try to create the project completely using annotations. Okay. After that, we'll compare these two projects and also with the Servlet to find out the advantages. So any questions on that, guys? Okay, let's start today's session. So if you remember properly, yesterday we wrote a row mapper and we tried to get the data. It was showing me an empty response. That is because if you remember properly, we are taking the username from a session. My session was expired, so I was not able to get the data. Now let's see. Okay, I just added a couple of CSS files. If you remember properly, yesterday I was including the data in my .jsp. So just that link and style sheets. That's all. So that's why I'm getting this kind of UI. Right. Reach. So let's go to search. Now searching for that. Right. Let's see. Because I didn't specify any view here. That's why I'm getting this 404 not found. But let's see. If you see that properly in the logs, I'm printing here the truck information. You have the truck information. Yes. Now let's see how I can display this to the user in our view. So let's go to service, and I want to return to the same page, that is search page. So, but to display that, I need to place it in a container. That basically I need to place it in a model. For that, I'm going to create one more model. Model dot add attribute. So let's name it truck user information list, and my model object will be the list whichever I'm getting here. Now all the way back to the front again. Everything is fine. How can I display here? We will be using Jstl tags, guys, again. So there is, if you work with any kind of for loop in Java, it is similar to that. Let's see. C colon for each. Right. So it will ask item on what I am iterating over. So I need to provide my model attribute here. So let me copy that and paste it here. Since it is a list, I need to iterate and I need to display each and every record in it. So that's why I'm going for each. And I need a variable, right? I need a variable. Let's say I name it data, and I can use this data to print. Let's say I want to display data dot. Okay, the data what I will get exactly here is, this is my data object. So each and every record will be there in that. So how can I retrieve the parameters present in my class or member variables present in my class? Let's go to this class, truck user information. So I have a username, right? So you can use this username, and I have one more object here. How can I access an object? By using the same name, whatever we specified here a variable name. So that gives me truck details now, right? In the truck details, we have information like truck license number, previous owner, total kilometers, model, and so many things, right? So we can access them just by using the names again, variable names, like this. And so on. So any questions on this guys? But I need to verify whether I have any kind of information in this truck user information list, which is a model object for me. So for that, I need to include see if condition. That's a closing tag. I need to test $. If it is not equal to null, then only I need to display the list. Right. Any questions on this, guys? You need to have proper getter and setter. Otherwise, there will be a Jasper exception in your JSP, which means your view technology may not be able to access that particular variable from your class. Okay, so you need to have appropriate getters and setters for every variable. Right. Now I did some CSS. I applied some CSS for better understanding. Okay, let me get that here. Just take that. All I did is I just placed it in a table for better understanding. And if you see that properly, how I'm accessing the data by using the same variables which I specified. Right. Now let's see this. Let's execute and let's see this. I did some code change, guys. So my session will automatically expire. So I need to go to login again. Okay. Clear, guys? Any questions on that? How I'm able to generate the CSS? Again, I'm not an expertise in the front-end technology. So I know some of the folks who here maybe having more than 6 years of experience. If I did some mistake, please correct me. Now, let's try to implement one more feature. Maybe I want to, okay, right now what we are doing, I'm able to search based on truck license, right? And I'm only displaying all the records which are inserted by a particular user. But I want to know what are all the other vehicles available in my DB, right? Even though I may not be able to edit or I may not be able to modify, but I need to know what kind of trucks, what kind of details do I have in my database. So let's implement that again. For that, I will simply introduce one more hyperlink in our homepage. Here, display all. Sorry guys, I lost you. There was some internet connection. So where was I? Guys, where was I? Where did I lose you guys?
Display. You were saying to display all the data, all the truck information.
Okay.
Whether you are able to modify or not.
Okay. I want to display all the information, all the trucks which I have stored in my truck fleet management application. So for that, I'll be introducing one more href here. Okay. Display all. Display 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 all. Okay. Now let's quickly create a method in my controller to handle this kind of request. Public display all, that is my method name, which will handle display all request, right? So I need a model. I don't need session because I'm not retrieving any user data. Return. I need to create a method in truck service again to display to fetch all the records from my truck table. Basically it's from truck underscore details table, right? Display all. I don't accept any parameters. So to handle DAO layer, we need to create a method in my DAO IMPL class to retrieve all the information related to truck, right? Let's quickly do that. So I have a interface. So I'm going to implement create the method here, right? It is going to return me truck details, not truck user information. Truck details. Display all. Right. Now my truck DAO IMPL will throw me an exception or error. That is because I didn't implement some of the methods. Let's implement them. Right. Again, guys, query. I'm writing a query to retrieve the data. So I'll be retrieving data from a single table. I don't have to do any conditions. It's a plain select statement. If you want, you can provide the parameter names, or else star will do. From the table name, it is truck underscore details, right? Do I have a condition? I'm not retrieving based on a condition, so I don't need one condition any here, right? Let's try to execute this. So how can I execute? Jdbc template dot query. That's all. I'm not going to do any prepared statement here. I'm just going to do normal plain query. SQL, right? Okay, I have a question here, guys. Do I really need to do? I mean, like, do I really need all the information here? Maybe I may need all the information, right? Let's see. My query will result me a list, right? A list of records, basically a result set. So how can I handle the result set? If you remember yesterday's session, I created a row mapper and then a result set mapper. I told you, I promise you, I'll be showing you a different way of doing that, a better way. Now, what is a better way? So in Spring, there is a bean row mapper. We can take use of that class. Okay, it is an inbuilt class provided by bean, provided by Spring. So all we have to do is we need to configure that appropriately and use it. Let's see how I can do that. New. So it is bean. Okay. Property row mapper. That's my class. Right. I need to provide what kind of class I'm mapping to. I'm mapping to truck details. Right. It will return me truck details dot class, and that's all. Now I need to store this information in a list. So what kind of objects am I getting? I'm going to get objects of type truck details because I just used that in my bean row mapper. It will try to map to my truck details class. Basically, the setters and getters, it will take use of that. Now let's try to retrieve truck details. Truck details list. Okay, I'm going to return that here. Guys, again, I am not handling any exception here, but when you are doing, you need to handle exceptions. If you want, I already did one, so that's why I'm not showing every time again and again, because I already showed you how to handle an exception here. Okay, now let's go back to our service layer where I need to return display all. So it is accepting a model, that is model. Perfect. Now let's call that method, call the implemented method. Just now we implemented a method in our truck DAO to retrieve the truck details, right? I have auto wired the object already, so I'm using that object. Display all. It will give us a list of truck details. List. Model dot always when you want to add a model, when you want to send a model to view, you have to add that model. Model dot add attribute. Let's name it truck details list. Okay, now I need to return to an appropriate view. Let's take our view name as display all. Do I have a view for that? Now let's fix our controller. Right, everything is fine. Do I have a view to handle this kind of request? I don't have one. So I'll create one view here. JSP file, and it is display all .jsp. Next, finish. Okay. I'll quickly open my search because it's most of the thing same, right? I'm just copying the whatever the information I need in our HTML page. And I'll show you how to modify the details right now. Earlier, we were getting a truck user information list. Now it's not truck user information list. Now we will be getting only truck details, and we named truck details list, right? That is our model attribute name. That's all. You don't have to use data. You can use maybe truck, doesn't matter, but I'm going with data because it is familiar. That's why. Excuse me. So now there is no hierarchy. So that's why I'm directly calling the member variables in my truck details class. Data dot win number, data dot truck license. Right. There is no hierarchy. That's why I'm directly calling it. If you guys have any questions, if you guys didn't understand what I'm trying to do, please ask me. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate. Now I don't need to display this. All I did is I made use of appropriate variables which I'm passing to my view. That's all, guys. I didn't do anything new. Now I need to have a header as well, right? Next time I want to navigate to home page, I need to have a header. Include this header here. Now let's see this, how it works. Going back again, because I did some code change, automatically my session might have been invalidated. Okay, something went wrong. Okay, maybe related to cache issue. Maybe let's log in. Okay, validate. What is the issue? I may have to restart my server, guys, because there are too many changes. All I'm doing is cleaning my server. If still it will not, if it's not going to start, then I may have to clean my temp directory as well, because yesterday I told you sometimes my Tomcat may reserve some space in my temp, and it may never, update the details over there, whatever it's stored. So okay. Now it is good. Okay, display all. So I have only two truck information. That's why I'm displaying this. So any questions on this, guys? Any questions on the flow? Okay, let me take a simple paint and let's discuss the flow one more time before stopping creating any more features on this, because as I promised, I'll show you some other ways of creating the web application, right? Paint. This is for the guys who missed, especially for the guys who missed my first session on Spring, the flow of first session on Spring. Okay, let me take box. Let's consider this as my controller, this as my service, and this as my DAO. And let's take this as our database. Right now, let's take this our view. For us, it is JSP, right? Let's take a simple functionality which we implemented just now. Okay, I want to retrieve all the truck details, right? First, I am initiating a request from my view. So let me name it properly. It's my view. That's my controller. That's my service. That's my DAO. Guys, DAO, data access layer. right? Data access objects, right? That's my DB. This is my DB. Okay, now let's see how the request will be processed here. First, I will be initiating a request from our view, right? In our case, for now, we do not have any models. So that's why I'm not sending any models back to my controller. If I have models, I'll be sending my models here, right? I'll be sending my models, right? Now, from the controller, I'm not doing any kind of functionality in my controller. All the functionality, what it will do is just accept request and respond with appropriate view. That's all. All my validation and other business logic I'm going to do in my service layer and any helpers. My service layer, it will do some validation, and if it is a valid request, it will send to DAO. In my DAO, I'll try to access database. It will respond, and again, I'll be responding back to my service. I am adding some models here. I'll be adding some models here, right? I'll be adding some models to be displayed in the view, and I'm returning back to controller. My controller will return back to view, and I'll be displaying the models here. So this is the basic flow, guys. I'm hoping everybody understood this. If not, please let me know. Cool. Okay, so any questions on this application which we discussed so far? Because now I'll be showing you, first we'll see how ambiguity between the POJOs will be, how ambiguity between the objects will be resolved. Okay, let's say I told you if we create a auto wire, it's by type, by name, right? So if it is by type, let's say if I have two different objects, let's say beans, so my IOC don't know which one it has to wire, right? I told you, I promise you, I'll be showing you that how to handle those kind of scenarios. If we do not have any questions, I'll go there. Remember guys, I haven't created the functionality for logout, that you guys have to do it, and I haven't created functionality for when we search for a truck, I didn't create any functionality for modify and delete. So that will be the assignment for you guys. I'll be sending in the email what you have to do. Okay, cool. So any questions on that? Sure. Now let's see how we can resolve the ambiguity. First, for that we need to create ambiguity. How can I do that? Right, if you see in our DAO, I have an interface, okay, and I have a class which is implementing that interface. Let's say now today I am interacting with my Oracle, MySQL. Tomorrow I may have to move towards my Oracle. So at that point of time, I may have to end up writing one more class. But basically there was ORM which will fix that, but assume that for now we may have to do that. So let me create one more class. Let's name it truck DAO, and I will be implementing a truck DAO interface. Okay, finish. Right, at the rate component. Remember guys, component will create a bean for us, right? So if I don't specify any name here, by default it will take this name, everything in the small letter, but D will be in the capital. That's camel case, something like this. If I don't create any name here, it will take by default this name. Right, now let's go back to our configuration where we are accessing this object. That's basically in the service layer. If you observe properly, we are auto wiring based on name, this truck DAO, that is the name of my object, and I am auto wiring based on name. So which means if you go back to truck DAO IMPL, you can find that, right? Now let me change that. Now I need to create ambiguity, right? Let me change it to auto wire by type. How can I do that? All you have to do is, let's say, I need to refactor, rename by truck DAO, and that's all. Okay, it has been refactored everywhere. Now let's see. If I try to run on server, my server should fail. Okay, right? Let's analyze the issue, what it is telling us. Let's go all the way up here. If you see, it's arg.springframework.beans.factory.bean definition store exception, right? Unexpected exception parsing XML document of Servlet resource. Nested exception is truck DAO for bean class com.truck.dao.truckimpl conflicts with existing non-compatible bean definition of same name and class. So what does that mean, guys? Our IOC is trying to wire these objects, but it is not able to find appropriate legitimate bean. Why? Because we have two beans of type same, and this time we are auto wiring based on the type, not based on the name of the bean, right? So how can I resolve it? There are two ways. One is by using @primary. The second one is by using @qualifier. So let's see how can I use the qualifier. But before going there, what is qualifier? How will it help IOC to decide what kind of bean or what is the exact bean it has to map to the auto-wired object, right? Basically, the qualifier will try to tell our IOC by taking the appropriate bean name, tell our IOC in case of conflict, please use this bean so that you can create the auto wiring. Let's see that by code. Okay, let's see that by code. Now simply all you have to do is qualifier. Okay, there is a question. Okay, let's see this by writing it in a notepad, right? How a qualifier works, right? So if there is any ambiguity of type, that means if we have two beans of same type, two beans of same type, in our case, for example, we have of type I truck DAO, right? That is of type because both of my classes are implementing this interface. So I have two beans of types I truck DAO. So now there is a conflict for IOC. So in such cases, there is a conflict. Now how can I handle these kind of scenarios, right? We have @primary. I will speak about that in a bit, but we'll see about qualifier. So what is qualifier? It is a way that we are telling our IOC, okay, QALI is a way to tell or to configure to our IOC to pick the bean what you are configuring, basically to pick the specified bean in case of conflicts. Okay, now if you guys want a more detailed explanation, I will tell you how to do that. I mean like how IOC will pick. Let's take simple example here. This is my container. This is my container. I have two beans, right? That is my truck DAO IMPL, truck DAO IMPL, and there is one more bean which I created for truck DAO. Right now, I'm asking my IOC to inject a bean of type iTruck DAO into my service bean. This is service. Now I have two beans here. It doesn't know what to do. That's why there is an ambiguity. Now what I will do by using qualifier, I will tell by using qualifier, I will tell which bean qualifies for injection. Okay, I'll write something like bean name here. So at the point of time, whenever we write qualifier, it'll try to pick one. Let's say if I'm writing qualifier for IMPL, it will inject that bean into here. At the point like this, we will resolve the ambiguity. Clear, guys? Any questions on that? Okay, zooming, everybody understood that? Okay, let's see how I can write a qualifier. So it's of type available in org.springframework.beans.factory, right? Annotation. All you have to do is provide the name, truck DAO, truck DAO. You can provide the qualifier annotation on the class itself. For example, I can provide the qualifier annotation here. It doesn't matter where you do. Okay, that is a way to tell IOC to pick one. Now let's try to rerun that again. Right, so there is some issue with our auto wiring. Conflict with existing non-compatible bean definition of type same name class DAO. Let me clear it and restart it. Remove it. Clean it. Run as on server. Okay. No, there is some issue. Yes, this is a learning opportunity for us. Let's debug. What are we doing wrong? Okay. Annotation specified name bean truck DAO for class truck DAO IMPL conflicts with existing non-compatible bean definition of same name and class truck DAO. Oh, I use the same name. How can I use the same name? Sorry guys, that's my bad. So it was complaining about the same name. I use the same name. Let's change it to IMPL. Now it should work. Again, guys, now it's a good point here. So we are not supposed to reuse the existing names, the bean names. Okay, there will be a conflict again. IOC don't know what to do in that kind of situations. Remove, clean, run as on server. Okay, now it worked. Any questions on that, guys? Or is it confusing? Or is it clear? Or any questions on that? Okay, so I'll take that as a no. Moving forward in our session. Now let's speak about primary. What is primary? So if qualifier solves the problem of ambiguity, solves the problem of conflicts, why do I need primary? Primary, right? If you observe properly in any of the databases, there is a concept called default. That means if you are not providing any value, it will take the default value. Okay, for example, yesterday, if you remember properly, while creating my user truck, okay, author table, I'll show you guys. So I kept the default expression as 1000 and I didn't provide any kind of information to that when I'm trying to insert data into this table. So it took by default 1000 and we are able to insert the data. That means if you're not providing, this is a way to tell your software or any framework, if you're not providing any information, take the default one. Okay, it doesn't matter whether it is conflict, no conflict, nothing. Now let's come back to our primary. If we have two beans of type iTruckDAO, if I have two beans of iTruckDAO, right, I'll be specifying one bean as auxiliary primary. Let's say if I'm specifying truck IMPL DAO, that bean as primary, I'll be specifying something like this. That means until unless you specify, you configure that IOC has to wire the other bean, this will be our default bean which will be wired whenever I call truck, whenever I call this iTruckDAO. So any questions on that, guys? Any questions on that statement? So are we clear with this auto wiring concept? Cool. And I won't be implementing any more functions here in our project. So that will be a good assignment for you guys to practice. So get your hands dirty. If you guys face any problems, I'll always be there to help you guys. Okay. Now, in our today's agenda, so far we created a Spring application. Okay. I need somebody to tell me what did you guys observe from servlets and what is the difference in our Spring application. So what did we gain by implementing a framework? Point by point, please. At least 1 point from everybody. If you guys want me to start, I can start. First point, no need to create multiple servlets. All I have to do is create one dispatcher servlet and tell how it has to handle the requests. That's all. Just dispatcher servlet is enough. Right. Next point, guys. Okay. Let me pick the participants. Satya, please.
In servlets, you mentioned that static values like DB name or
Okay.
table, but in Spring we are not mentioned like that. We are passing like a dynamic way.
Okay. Can I frame something like the the JDBC connection, basically to establish a connection to database, any kind of database. It is a little bit tricky with servlets because I have to specifically manage a JDBC connection. Here, Spring will do that for me. All I have to do is provide my connection string, username, password, and my database values. Can I frame something like that?
Yeah.
That's a good point. JDBC handling is better. Right. Next, please. Okay. Manish.
Yeah, Harish.
Yes,
It provides an abstraction layer on existing technologies like servlets to simplify the development process.
perfect. That's a good point. Thank you. Thanks for that.
Yeah.
Any other advantages, guys, which you can think of?
In servlets, actually, if we want to do any configuration, it has to be done manually. But in Spring, that is like very much helpful with the help of annotations, proper use of annotations at proper places. Basically, we need not to write few lines of code, which is boilerplate code in Spring. So things are very easier as compared to servlets.
Perfect. That's an exceptional point. So less coding, and I can leverage the features of framework to do the work for me, right? I can use
Yes. Yes.
the features of framework, right? Anything else, guys? Any other advantages? Main and foremost thing which we spoke about MVC, guys. MVC. Can somebody elaborate that?
Yeah, there is MVC and dispatcher servlet. Yeah.
So it is
Yeah, there is a dispatcher servlet concept, which is the actor's front controller.
perfect. That's good one. Dispatcher is acts as a front controller.
Handles all the request. Yeah, and MVC flow.
Right. The main and foremost thing, by following the MVC design pattern, the model view controller approach, the design pattern, what am I gaining? What are we gaining out of it? It is easy for us to segregate or divide, right? The
Yeah,
presentation layer
maintenance
from
is easy.
the presentation layer from the actual implementation layer, the logic layer, right?
Yes.
So we can achieve the modularity, I can say.
Hmm.
Perfect. Now, I want you guys to think of any disadvantages which you face right now. Can you guys think of any disadvantages of Spring? If not right now, we can discuss this later. I just wanted to understand if you guys have observed any disadvantages by creating a web application in this way. It's okay. You guys will have a good idea when we speak about Spring Boot, what kind of disadvantages we have in Spring and why we need to go for Spring Boot. But for now, let's go to Maven implementation of the same application, right? If you observe properly, earlier I shared a jar files, and whenever I need a jar file, I asked you guys to download and add it to the build path and everything. That is a little bit hectic process, right? That is a little bit hectic process. Let me show you what I'm speaking about. Right. If you go here, we copy pasted all our library files, right? It will be easier if we have a way to handle that. If we have any tool, if you have any framework to do that work for us, right? It will be really helpful. Now, exactly, we have exactly a framework which will do that for us. In fact, not only one, there are multiple, but for now we will be using Maven, and to name some we can use Gradle as well. Okay, what is Maven? That depends on the perspective again, guys, on what perspective I was speaking about. If we are using as a repository, yes, that is a Maven is a central repository where you can pull all the related jar files. If you are speaking about creating an application and building it, then you can tell it as a build tool. How many of you have real work experience with Maven, or at least know what is Maven? So I didn't get any kind of messages or responses. How many of you know
Yes,
Maven?
Harish.
What is Maven?
Basically, it is a project management tool.
Perfect.
If you want to do with some jars, like here you specify like if you want to perform some task, we need some different jar, and but using Maven, we just need to do a little configuration, and that's it. It will
Perfect.
do for us. Means it will go to the Maven repository, it will download for us, and it will keep in the class path.
Okay, can I frame the sentence like it will do dependencies for us, right? It will resolve the dependencies for us.
Yes, yes.
Right. We can also use it to build package, right? We can also use it to build a package, and in fact, in some cases, you can even create a Docker image with the help of the Maven commands. Of course, you need to write a Docker, the way how it has to be created, but still you will be using Maven there, right? Now, let's see quickly how can we install Maven. Or do you guys want me to show you how to install Maven, or can I assume that everybody is ready with their Maven setup? If you guys want me
Hi,
to,
Harish.
yes.
Yes, Harish. Actually, I haven't worked on Maven, so it will be good if you will
Okay, so
show
how
it.
many of you guys have this links which I provided? Okay, I'll ping you guys again, don't worry. Where is my Maven? Copy, 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 copy. Right. That's my link. Please go open that link. Let me open that. Okay. So you have to choose this binary zip archive. Okay, let me show what version I'm using. Right, I'm using 3.5.3, but if you don't have 5.3.3, that's okay. Download this file 3.6.3. Just download it. Oh, and it will be stored somewhere in your location, maybe in downloads or anywhere. In my case, I did it and I placed it in under D drive. That's up to you. Okay, let me go to D drive. Softwares. I have Maven here, guys. I extracted that. So unzip it, copy and unzip it. So there will be a bin file like this. Unzip it. You will have bin boot config lib everything. Are you guys trying to set it up right now, or is just following my session?
I'm downloading the same, Harish.
Okay, anybody else?
Yes, even I downloaded that, but I can't able to set it up now because I need to see your screen.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Yes.
I'll tell you. It's very simple. I'll tell you how to do that. Tell me once you are done with extraction of that zip file.
Yeah, yeah, I'm done with the extraction.
Okay. Now, I'm not sure how many of you have the admin rights, but there will be some steps which we need to do to change the environment variables. So I want you guys to access environment variables. Just go environment and edit the system environment variables, something like this. Go to environment variables. Right. Once you get this window, please let me know.
I think we don't have admin access.
Okay.
If everyone is okay, then you can continue to explain this. Once we'll get the admin access, we'll set it up.
Okay. You can set it in the user variables also. It doesn't have to be in the system variables. You can do that as well. If you, I guess you guys.
Yeah, for user variables, admin access is not required.
Yeah. Please include the Java home here in the user variables. So it is supposed to point to your installation of JDK, something like this. My installation is in C program files, Java, JDK. Now, once that is done, I want you guys to create. Okay, there is one more. Right. Once you guys set it up, then you need to create your m2 underscore home or maven underscore home. Anything will work. So I created both maven underscore home and m2 underscore home. So it should be pointing to the location where you just unzipped your maven. In my case, I unzipped it in D Software's Apache Maven 3.5.3. That's my location. And then what I did actually, go here. I need to append this with a bin folder. That I'll be doing it later. But you guys has to do that. I'll be doing it in the path variable. I'll be including everything in the path. So if you see that appended bin for Java home, that's up to you guys. If you want to append everything in the Java home, you can append it, or you can append it like this in the path. Similarly, for whoever is doing in the user, there is a path. User variable, there is a path. Let me go to that. There's a path. So you can append that here. Right. Once you are done with that, if everything went successful, please click on OK. Okay, that's all. Is also okay. Now you should be able to see. If you type Java -version, you should be able to see your Java version. Ambient -version, you should be able to see your Maven -version. Sometimes you may face Maven is not recognized as internal or external command. So that is because your Java version is not set properly. For that, you need to set Java underscore home variable properly. And I don't think apart from that, there will be any other errors. Cool. Before creating the application, okay, let's go on a break for 10 minutes and we'll be back. And meantime, please figure out if you guys have any issues with the Maven, please try and I will help you once we are back from the break. Thank you guys.
Sure.
Now, how many of you are still facing issues with Maven? None. So that means everybody has Maven setup available, right? So you need to use these commands to verify that from your command line. Okay, now let's quickly get started on creating Maven project if you guys don't have any questions. Cool. Okay guys, instead of converting, see there is an option to convert this into a Maven project, but anyway, we'll try, for our understanding again, we'll try to create this from a beginning. Okay, from the beginning. Now what I have to do, all I have to do is the same way how we created a project file, new dynamic web project. Instead of truck fleet, let's name it truck fleet management. Okay, and select dynamic web version 3.1. Click next. Select src, click next, and don't generate this one. Do not check this box. As I told, we will be seeing this through annotations only. We are not using any configuration files. Okay, and finish. That's all. Now you got a dynamic web project, but it's not a Maven one. How can I create Maven one? Click on it. There is configure option in your Eclipse, in your IDE. Just go there and convert to Maven project. Okay, now there will be a window popped up for everybody. So what is a group ID? So we need to discuss about this group ID and the artifact ID. Basically, group ID is nothing but the organization which you work for. Okay, your organization may create multiple projects. Not only this project, they may have other projects as well, right? So it is uniquely to identify the organization. So that will be the group ID, and the artifact ID, it is actually the project name. Okay, and the version, basically there will be two kinds of versions. One is snapshot and one is release. Release is something which will be released. That means it is a legitimate version. It is tested, everything working fine. Snapshot, I would say it's like a beta. So for now, let's go with 0.1 snapshot. And the packaging, if you guys remember properly from our first class, I told we will be dealing with WAR files, that is web archive files. And I also explained why web archive, because it is related to web application. So we have all the information related to web. That means all our CSS files, all our JS files, all our view technology, whatever we are using. Let's say in our case, we are using JSP, we are using those files, and finally our Java files as well. That's why we are packaging in a WAR file. Now, I'm not giving any name, I'm not giving any description. If you want, you can give. The name is name of the project, and description is description about that project. Okay, something like to maintain truck information. Now, let's click on finish. Right. Before going to this pom.xml, if you observe properly, there is a M symbol on the left side corner of your project. See this, guys. Okay, that means you created a Maven project successfully. Okay, any questions on that, guys? Right, so no questions. Now what do we have to do? We are not going to write the code again. We will be using the same code. Okay, so what I will do is I will simply copy paste. Oh, before copy pasting, let's see the project structure. Let's verify the project structure. Is there any change in my project structure? See that. So I have one more folder available here, that is deployed resources, and there is nothing called reference libraries yet because we are not adding any libraries manually here, right? And let's check our web content. Do I have a web.xml? No. If you choose to select that web.xml to be generated, it might have been generated, but as I told, we will be dealing this dispatcher servlet and everything by using annotations. So I don't need web.xml. Right. Now I need my code. Let's copy one by one. Beans. Don't worry guys, we will be having some red color marks here because we didn't add any dependencies yet. So yeah, controller, copying controller, DAO, I'm copying DAO. Okay, DAO helper, I'm copying DAO helper. Service, I'm copying service. Right. MySQL, I'm copying MySQL. Right. Oh, everything got copied. Let's see the errors. Let's verify the errors. So it is telling there is a missing jar. There is a missing dependency. That means we didn't add any of our framework yet. So that's why we are getting this kind of errors. Let's try to add one by one. Let's see the complexity. So if you open the lib folder here, we will be adding the same jar files. We are not going to change anything. So we need all these jar files. Okay. Now, how can I add the dependency? This is called as dependencies. We need to resolve the dependencies. So how can I add the dependency? If you observe this pom.xml properly, there is a build, but before that build, we need to provide our dependencies. That is dependencies management tag. That is how we are going to add our dependencies. Let's see that how it can be done. Dependency management. That's all. Under that, dependencies. So all you have to do is this one and include the appropriate group name. So every dependency will have a group name and artifact ID. So we need to provide those IDs, right? Okay, so I have done that already. So I'll copy paste the dependencies here and I'll explain what exactly I'm doing here. If you observe properly, guys, I'm not downloading and adding the jar files manually to my project. Okay, so all I did is included some tags, some XML tags, and I just specified my dependency. Okay, let's see quickly one by one. So I'm adding JUnit. It's not required, but whenever you generate form.xml, it will come as default. Now let's see one by one. So I'm adding a dependency here. I'm specifying the group ID as org.spring framework. Okay, here you have to observe one thing. For all these Spring framework related jar files, the group ID will be the same. Like I said, that represents the organization name. Okay, in the reverse order. So we have this org.spring framework, and after that actual comes the artifact ID. Let's say in our case we have Spring Web. That means we are telling our Maven to get this Spring Web .jar file, and version you can specify here. So I'm specifying a common version, that is the same jar files which I created, 3.1.2 release. So that will be resolved here, 3.1.2. And now let's quickly have a look at our jar file. So where is our web? This is my web. So this is exactly the same jar file which I'm telling my Maven to resolve as a dependency. Okay, similarly expression. So if you go find expression 3.1.2 release, similarly WebMVC, similarly org.springframework.test. So This is test MVC. I'm trying to resolve, and there should be some more tests here. Actually, you can go for test MVC. That's what I did just now here. Test web MVC. Sorry, test MVC. My bad. Similarly, javax.transaction, that is part of it comes as part of Hibernate. But in our case, if it is a Maven, we need to resolve the dependency as well. So I'm using the dependency. Servlet, we need Servlet. I am resolving the dependency as well. If you observe properly, there should be javax.servlet. This is the one. And we need a Jstl tag for Jstl tags. That's the one. Context. I have context. I have context support. Context support. Okay. Now you can ask me, hey Harish, you know all those things. That is fine. But how can we get these jar files information? All you have to do is go to Maven repository. Let me go to Google first. Maven repository. Right. So this is a centralized repository. Okay. If you search for anything, let's say I am searching for Spring Web. Okay. Let's see. If you see this, there is Spring Web here. And you need to pick appropriate version. In our case, I am dealing with 3.1.2 release. Let's go and look for that. 3.1.2. Right over here. Right. And I'm copying this. Right. I'm copying this and pasting it in my form.xml. And I'm modifying this. I'm making it as dynamic. That means I'm picking it from the properties file. So let's say the advantage of doing that. The advantage of doing using these properties and configuring it dynamically. For now, I want 3.1.2. What if I want to upgrade to 5 version, 5.x? All I have to do is just provide the version here. It will be upgraded everywhere. Now, before going any further, do you guys have any questions on that? On Maven? Because I didn't speak about the Maven compiler target, Maven compiler source, Maven version. I didn't speak about the Java version. And there are some of the build details which we need to speak about, which we need to discuss. I haven't discussed that. I will discuss it anyway. But the thing is, you have to understand whatever we discussed so far. Then only we can move forward. Do you guys have any doubts? Any questions? Either you guys understood everything or you guys didn't understand anything. Okay, I am seeing only 9 participants here. What happened to other guys? Cool. Okay. So if you guys don't have any questions, Shahan, can you please make me as a host?
Harish, by mistakenly you make me host, I think.
Yeah, because I wanted you to share the screen, but unfortunately you couldn't join. Yeah, can you please make me as a host?
Where is that option? I don't know.
Click on my
Meeting
name.
setting?
Click on my name. More. Go to more.
Okay, okay. Yeah, got it.
Okay, perfect. There are too many guys waiting. Okay, that's cool. Now, for the new guys who joined, I'm not sure how much content you missed. Can you please tell me so that I'll be having an idea from where I have to start again? It's for Ramil. It's for Ramil, I guess, Diksha and Shirisha. So guys, you understood everything, right? About Maven, what I'm speaking about Maven?
Yes, Harish.
Okay, cool. Now let's speak about all the way up, the way up, all the way up. Let's speak about this compiler, target, and source. Right. Why do I need all these things? So it is a way to specify my Maven, okay, the build tool, on which version of Java I am working with. Okay, it's a way to specify that. And there are so many inbuilt parameters which we have to specify. For this project, we don't need all of them. So we need whatever we configure whatever is required. Okay. Now, coming all the way down, after dependencies, there is a phase, build phase. If you guys remember properly, I told Maven is a build tool too, right? It is also a build tool. So we have to include plugins in the build phase. So what are the plugins I am including? It's a Maven var plugin. Okay, this is there is a various uses for this. In our context, we are specifying Maven. Do not complain if you can't find web.xml. If you see this properly, there is a configuration which I did. So fail on missing web.xml. That means if we specify true, there will be a red color mark somewhere in our pom.xml specifying that I can't find web.xml in the application. So that's why I made it as false. That means I'm giving information to my Maven. Hey, if you can't find it, it's okay. Don't complain. That's all. Now, what is the next phase? What is the next plugin which I added? The same plugin. If you see this Maven var plugin or group ID, everything is same, but there is difference. I'm actually earlier it was used for configuration. Now I'm using for executions. If you see this, right? I'm trying to do some execution, default var, create a var file, and then the what is a phase when it is preparing for package. Okay, packaging phase. We will speak about these phases when we go there. Okay. So as of now, try to understand what exactly is this build which I'm trying to do. Again, I'm telling the same configuration. Hey, when I'm trying to build a var file, when I'm trying to package, okay, prepare for package. At that point of time also, do not complain saying that I don't have web.xml. That's why I need to configure that. So any questions on that? So everybody, oh, there is a question. Cool. Oh, no questions. Cool. So that means we can move forward in our session. Right. Let me stop this. Let me stop my server, which is running for the earlier project. I'm removing it. Clean. Before running the application, I am missing some of the content which makes it as a web application. That means I need to have all my JSP pages copied. I need to have all my style. That means the CSS files. If there is any validation, that JavaScript files need to be copied, right? I didn't copy them yet. Let's copy that. All I have to do is just copy this and place it under web content. Paste. Okay, cool. I need to copy this style. Place it under web content. Right. Just check everything is available. Now everything is available. But I don't have I didn't configure this web.xml. That means I didn't configure my deployment descriptor, and I didn't configure this struct management -servlet.xml. That means I didn't configure my dispatcher servlet as well. So there is no dispatcher servlet, there is no deployment descriptor. So if you run your application in Tomcat or any servlet container, so your servlet container doesn't know what it has to do with the request, where it has to forward, right? Let's see. But before going there, there are some steps which you need to follow. First, to build the to generate the jar files, to get the jar files from internet or whatever the source you configured, we need to tell Maven, we need to command Maven to get that for you. So let's see how we can do that. Run as, you can go here, and I'm configuring some options. Okay, now that's a Maven build. It's a new option, new configuration. I will name it truck truck_management and I need to get the truck fleet management application. So this is a one. That is what I need to do. And my goals, you can specify. There are different kinds of goals, guys. Whenever time comes, we'll speak about different kinds of goals. Right now, let's speak about just only clean install. What it will do? It will clean the project and get all the dependencies. Okay, it'll try to resolve all the dependencies. Right. Now let's see. Run. Okay, there is an issue. Unknown lifecycle install. Okay, there is a spelling mistake, guys. If you guys trying to build along with me, unfortunately I haven't provided this pom.xml. It will be way too big for you guys to send me over the chart. So anyway, I'll be sharing the lab notes today, and I'll be sharing the recording. I will be sharing the code as well. So at the point of time, you can get it. If you guys face any kind of problems, okay, you need to find a .m2 folder. Basically, when you install Maven, a home repository for Maven will be created, and all your jar files will be downloaded to that place. Let me find it out where I have my M2. So quickly, .m2. Working on it. Okay. No, that's wrong. .m2. Percentage. It's a folder for me. Anyway, I know where it is. I'll take you there. So it's users. You know where it is. It's users. It is under my name. So it is. If you see this is M2 folder which I was speaking about. Let's go inside. Okay, this is called as local repository. Okay, that means your Maven dependencies will be resolved to this place. Right. Let's go in here. So if you go into the repository, you can see the jar files. Okay. Let's say I try to get org.spring framework. Let's go into org. Let's go in Spring framework. So here it is. And I have so many jar files here. Spring ASM, that's what I configured 3.1.2 release. You can see that. And that jar file related to Spring ASM, it will be resolved here. It's external jar file. Similarly, let's try to find context. Yeah, this is the one. And you have 3.1.2. Similarly, you can find the jar file. So whatever the configuration which you did in your pom.xml, so that will be reflected here. That means it will try to pull and place the jar files in this location. This is your local repository, right? Any questions on that, guys? Okay, no questions. Sometimes when you add a jar file, I mean, like when you add a okay, there is a question. So sometimes when you add a dependency, okay, your pom.xml, that means Maven may not be in a position to download that. Why? Because the server where it was placed is not available for your Maven. So there is a way to tell that, hey, go there and pick that file. How can I tell that? Right, let's come to Maven M2, and there is a file, this file called settings.xml. Let me open that. Okay, right, let's review. What do we have here? Settings. Obviously, there's a head tag, I mean like root tag. Plugin groups. I was speaking about some plugins, right? If you want to, you can include plugins and proxies. Let's say if you are working for your company, for your organization, and there is a proxy available for you, which means your organization doesn't support any external jar files. So they may have a specific repository for you, something like Nexus repository, and you would be using a VPN to connect to that. So those configuration can be provided here, the proxy username, proxy URL, and everything. Okay, next, servers, where it has to pick from. Okay, right. Mirrors, if you see a repository will have multiple mirrors. So actually the site location, you can pick it from there. Profiles. So here where the repository information will come into play. So let's say, let me go back to my Maven repository. So it is available in this. So Maven repository com.artifact. From here it is available. Right? You can configure this in case if you're not able to download. That means it will complain saying that, hey, Maven not able to download so-and-so jar file from so-and-so repository. So you can configure n number of repositories. Okay. Let me open one more for a better understanding. Let me open one more. Okay. Java X validation. Let's see. Let me go in here, validation API. Maybe something around like 1.1.ga. So you can find this in mvnrepository.com artifacts. So you can find the appropriate URL, and all you have to do is use that in your settings.xml. Like this, you need to create a profile, the repository where it has to come from. See, in my settings.xml, I have multiple repositories configured, like repo1.maven.org, m2. Similarly for Spring releases, repo.spring.io. So I can find some of the Spring releases in repo.spring.io. Let's say I want to find this transaction Spring TX jar file. Let's see. Spring TX is a transaction file. I'm going for 3.1.2 release again. Oh, everything is available in this location. I can find a potential candidate where I can specify how to pick. Okay, let me think what kind of candidates we have here. Let me open this anyway, how it looks like. Right, let's go in here. So if you open any of the repositories which you configure, so this is a repository, it'll have all the information related to the jar files. Let's say I want to pick some of the Spring jar files from this location. So it starts with org, right? It's just only org. Next. So here is the org. Let me go into this org and let me find Spring framework. Here you go. Then let's find Spring Context or Spring Beans, anything, whatever we configure in your application, Spring Beans. So there are so many releases here, and we are telling to pick 3.1.2. Let's go to 3.1.2. There's a release. It'll come here. It'll pick all the three things. Okay, that is how Maven will resolve the dependency. Now, let's see quickly what we did. Let's review quickly. Right. I want somebody to tell me what we did so far using Maven. Anyone? Okay, if you guys want me to pick, I will pick you guys. How about Kalim?
Hi Harish.
Hello.
So from Maven, as it is a build tool, okay, it will resolve the dependency for us.
Yes, that's a good point.
Yeah. And so you want me to say from this Eclipse how we set up?
Yeah, please set up because I'm trying to do a revision so that some of the folks who don't have any experience with Maven, so it'll be easy for them to understand if one of our folks speaks from one of the students speaks, right? That's why I'm doing this.
Okay. Okay.
So you can let me
So,
start one more point for you. You can say
yeah.
something like we downloaded Maven and then set the path.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, go on.
Yeah, downloaded Maven and set the part. After we build Maven project.
Okay, created Maven project.
Yeah, the Eclipse. Yeah.
Perfect. Next, please.
Yeah. Okay. Then we add the dependency, all the files from our existing project.
Perfect. That's a good point. Added dependencies. I can tell.
Yes.
In pom.xml. Okay, guys.
Yes.
Pom.xml. That is project object model. I forgot to tell that. That is a abbreviation of that. Right. Next, please. So we discussed about settings.xml as well, right? If your Maven not able to find some kind of jar file, you can always add that repository here. So that means you are telling your Maven where to look up for this kind of dependencies, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Reviewed settings.xml. Sorry, XML. Next. And I provided a command to resolve the dependencies. That means by using clean install, right? We know about clean install, mbn clean install. Guys, this is a very basic command. There are multiple commands. Probably I will send it over an email to you guys what exactly these commands will do. But without understanding the basics of Maven, you don't understand what that commands will do. So that's why I'm starting here with a very basic command. Next. Now we reviewed the location, the m2.m2 location to understand how dependencies are being resolved into our local machine. Being downloaded, I can say, instead of resolved into our machine. Okay. Anything else, guys? Anybody has anything to add on top of this? Thank you, Kalim. Those are really good points. Thank you. Okay. If anybody has any questions regarding the setup or regarding the configuration or regarding the adding the dependencies, anything, this is your time to ask. Right. Now let's see. So let's observe what it is trying to do here, one by one. Okay. Scanning for projects. So how will it find projects? Based on your project object model, we have specified the group ID, artifact ID, and it'll pick up from there, and the version as well. So truck fleet management dot 0.0.1. There is a version we specified. And now I did clean install. Let's see. Let's review one by one. First, clean plugin 2.5. It's clean. Deleting existing whatever there in the training truck fleet management target. That will be somewhere here. Okay. Now Maven resources plugin. It's trying to copy the resources, right? UTF-8 encoding to copy filtered resources. Skipping non-existing resource directory. Again, compiler to compile our resources. I don't have anything, so I didn't specify this compiler plugin to compile, so there is no resources. Do we have any tests? No, I don't have any tests. This is for test resources, right? Similarly, do I have any test which will, I mean like JUnit tests which will be compiled, I mean like the Java files? So I don't have any, so that's why it is telling no sources to compile, right? We'll speak about this Surefire later. This is related to the test coverage and everything. Right now we don't need all those things. Okay, when we cover JUnit topic, then we need all those things. Now at the end, Maven var plugin. So it's packaging web app. I told you what is packaging, right? We saw about packaging. Then there are some sequence of steps followed at the time of packaging. So it will try to assemble everything whatever is required. Let's say if we have any resources, it will try to assemble the resources, right? In our case, I can tell this is one of the resource, but I didn't specify in the resources folder. I mean like Maven SQL.properties. Okay. In case if you have any external resources, it will try to resolve everything and it will try to package everything. Now it'll try to create a var file and it will be placed on a target folder. You can see that, and the var file name is this one. It's truck fleet management -0.0.1 snapshot.var. So you can see that. Now let's refresh this. If you refresh, you'll find it. It'll be better to show. Here you go. Snapshot var. So any questions on that, guys? Cool, no questions. Let's continue with our project of moving from the legacy way of writing the project into Maven way, and also annotated based, completely annotation based. Perfect. Let's see how we can do that. Now, if you observe properly again, do I have web.xml here? I mean the deployment descriptor here? No. Do I have my dispatcher servlet or the XML configuration or any kind of beans? No, I don't have anything. Now it's our time to create them by using Java classes. So how can I do that? Simply first let me create a package. For that, let's name it com.truck.configuration. Now, okay. First, let's start by creating. Okay, we need to specify this as a web application, right? So first, let's start by creating Webintializer. So let's start by creating the deployment descriptor. Let's name it. It's again a class, guys. So I told we are moving away from the XML based to annotation based. So everything will happen in Java classes right now. So let's name it truck web app initializer. Truck web app Initializer, INTIALIZER. Okay, it has to implement some of the existing classes. We'll see that. Now I don't have anything. So what I have to do, how can I specify this as my web initializer? For that, you need to implement the web application initializer, right? I told you there are some of the classes which we need to implement. Sorry, there are some of the interfaces and classes which we need to implement and extend. One of them is web application initializer. This is part of Spring Framework, guys. So everything what we are doing here, if you remember properly earlier, we are using all the Spring Framework jar files. That means we are using the features of Spring Framework to do the work for us. Similarly, we are doing the same here. Now it's complaining since I didn't implement some of the unimplemented methods. Let's implement that. Right, on startup, what it has to do. So let context. Right, what it has to do. First, if you guys recall the very first session which we discussed about Spring, in web applications, what kind of container will be created? Anyone? I spoke about IOC, right? So there are multiple IOC types.
XML web application context.
Basically, it's a web application context. That's a good one. Thank you. Now, in this case, it's not XML, it is annotation. So let's go with that. Annotation, configuration, application, context. If you review, it is part of org.springframework.context. So that is one of the jar file which we added as a dependency in our application. Now let's name it as context or container. Now I need to create a new object for that. Annotation, config, web application. Where is web application? So I took the wrong one. Is web. Of course, we are implementing web application, guys. So it has to be web application context. Annotation, config, web application context. That's cool. Now it's our time to specify the dispatcher servlet and register a class for that. Okay. Do I have a class? Similarly, let's go back to this one. So here I'm in my web.xml file. If you open this, I'm specifying this truck management as my dispatcher. Do I have a class like that which will handle any kind of requests? No. So what I have to do? First, I have to create that. Let's name it truck config. Let's name it truck config. New class truck config. This is because all the configuration related to this MVC and whatever we are doing in our web, the truck management -servlet.xml. So we'll be doing the same exact replica here. That's why I'm going with truck config, because it is a configuration. No, it has to extend a class. I will extend it normal way instead of using the Eclipse features. Extends. So it'll we need to specify it as a web MVC, right? So I need to tell that. How can I tell that? It's a web MVC configuration adapter. That's the class which I need to extend. If you see, guys, it is a part of org.springframework.web.servlet. So remember, we are using servlets as well. I told web application, Spring Framework was built on top of servlets, right? It's just an abstraction layer just top of servlets. That's all. It's nothing new. Now, any questions on that? Okay, cool. No questions. That's cool. Now let's try to create first what we did there. we created a view resolver. Let's try to do the same here. Public view resolver. This is a class. I mean like interface, but there is a view. There's a question. Okay. View resolver. We know we did we implemented a class that is called as internal view resolver, and we will be returning that internal view resolver to resolve our views. It can be anything. In our case, again, I'm telling it's JSP. View resolver. You can name the method anything. I'm trying to do a meaningful name here. Now let's try to create the internal view resolver. The same way how we created a bean. Like internal view resolver. And specify it as view resolver equal to new internal view resolver. Perfect. Now I need to tell my view resolver if there exists any configuration which it has to handle, something like what is a prefix, what is a suffix. So in our application, I am just returning a string for view, something like home. So but I don't know whether it is JSP or it is any HTML or time leaf or FTL, anything. So those kind of configuration goes here. It will be like view resolver dot. Similarly, set prefix, get prefix. Okay, set prefix. That will be slash view resolver dot set suffix, and that will be my JSP. This dot JSP. Now I need to return this view resolver. Return view resolver. Sorry, write this one. Perfect. But how will my IOC know it has to create a bean, right? It has to take this bean. Anyway, I am creating the bean, but it's not going to be created in IOC. But how will my IOC know? There is a special tag for that, just like component and every other tags. Bean. That's all. Now it will be generated. The bean will be created in IOC, right? But I told you it is a configuration. Did I mention anything related to configuration here? No. There is a way to specify it is configuration related class. How can I do that? Configuration, configurable. That's all. Now we were running, if you remember, we spoke about MVC, right? We did our application on MVC design pattern. So I need to specify that as well. How can I specify that? Simple. Enable web MVC. That's all. Now I enable web MVC. Next, what next? So let's go back here. I specified something, component scan. So far what I did, I created a bean, internal view resolver, and I specify it as annotation driven, MVC annotation driven, that is web MVC enable. And then I need to specify component scan. I didn't do that. So how can I do that? There is a annotation for that. Simply component scan, right? It will take parameters, base packages, a array of parameters. Now I'll just pass only one. As usual, com. That's all. Just start from com and scan all the other packages. Okay, what next? Now it's our time to do some of the functions which we created here, like reading the data source, right? And creating a Jdbc template, and add some of the resources as well, the resources file which we created here. The same thing which we need to do here as well. Now let's see how I can do that. Question. Okay, let's see how I can do. Again, I need to create a bean for my data source, right? Same here. It's a bean data source. I need to create a data source here. Bean public. And what kind of return statement can I expect here? I can expect a data source, right? A data source. Data manager. Sorry, there is a spelling mistake. Data manager. I can't find that. Let me go back here. What am I doing here? So it's a driver manager data source. That's what I need. Driver manager data source. Cool. Can I say create data source? Create data source. Perfect. Now, so in order to create data source, I need some kind of information. What kind of information is that? That is related to my SQL connectivity, right? I need a URL, I need a username, I need password, I need connection string, everything. So where can I get it? So as you see, we already specified everything in MySQL.properties. All you have to do is simply you have to specify the property source where it has to pick from. Property source. You can specify multiple property source. It is also of type array. So if you see value equal to something like this. Same configuration what I provided in our truck management -servlet.xml. Something like class path colon MySQL dot properties. Don't need it. It's specific to array. That's cool. Oh, that's good. So now what similarly we configured here. Exactly same thing. Property placeholder, you can find it here. And we used Spring expression language feature here to read the data. Now, how can I read the data here? There is something called environment variable. How can I get the environment variable? Private, what is the class? It is environment. Environment variable is environment. This is the one. env. And I have to auto wire it. So on startup, IOC will create this environment object for us. Auto wired. Now by using this env, I can read from the properties. Driver manager. Again, I'm creating a class driver manager data source. Driver manager data source equal to new driver manager data source. Driver manager data source. Perfect. That's what I need. So now I need to pass my connection information to this data source. So similarly, we will use the getters and setters. Driver manager set driver class. Now, if you open this MySQL.properties, all you have to do is use these names. Okay, we'll use them. env dot get property db dot url. Perfect. Now driver manager dot set. I need to set username and password, right? I need to set URL as well. Set URL. So env dot get property that is db.url driver manager dot set username. So I can get everything from environment variable, get property, use the key here, this user driver manager data source dot set password env dot get property, and it is password. No, everything is set. All I have to do is return this object which I just created. Return data source. That's all. Now everything is fine. Have I created JDBC template? If you go back here, write this one. I did not create. How can I create? So it is accepting data source as its constructor argument. So let's see how we can do that. Public.
Hi Harish, it is db.password and db.driver.
My bad. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's a good catch. Thank you. Oh, there is a, I missed this instead of URL.
Yes, driver.
Driver. Thank you. Now, so I will be returning of type JDBC template, right? I need to create a object for the same class. JDBC template. So can I name it like create or establish JDBC connection? So let's see, create JDBC connection. Right. Now it will take a data source object because it is a that is how it accepts, that is how it is designed. So it has to accept a constructor argument, right? So let's take this, the same thing, data source driver manager. No, let's create JDBC template. JDBC. Okay, I have to import that. JDBC template. JDBC template is equal to new JDBC template, and I have to pass this driver manager data source, and I'll be returning return JDBC template. Perfect. But I have to specify this as a bean as well. It needs to be created in the container. So any questions on that, guys? So all I'm doing is exactly repeating the same steps what we did in our truck management -servlet.xml. Good. We missed one more step. That is this one. So I need to add resources. So I specified anything related to style in a web application. I mean like CSS, JavaScript files, images, you need to specify. Otherwise your dispatcher cannot locate them. Right, how can I do that? So there is a override method. Let me use that method. Public void add resources. Oh, there is no resources, resource. Come on, handlers, handlers. Okay, so it will take a parameter. So basically it will take a resource handler registry. So you need to register for that. Okay, let's see. Resource resource registry handler. Is that regis resource handler registry? Perfect. Registry. Now I need to add everything to that. So how can I add? Registry dot add resource handler. So you need to specify the path here, what kind of resources you are going to handle. So as of now we have only style, style, style. Dot where you are where exactly it is located. add resource location. That will be in my style. Wait, let me show you what exactly I mean. So right over here, where about that? So right over here in the style. Okay, cool. Now, any questions on that, guys? Now it came. If you see this, I'm overriding this method which is available in my WebMVC configuration adapter, right? So if you want, you can specify this override annotation. It's not required. It's okay. So any questions on that? Cool. Now I was writing the web app initializer and I left it because I need to create this servlet for it to work. Excuse me. So context dot register. So what is my class name? Struct config dot class. So I registered the class here. Now I need to add the URL pattern. So this is similar to, let's say, let me open this web.xml. This is similar to this, guys. Now I have this name. Now I need to specify dispatcher servlet and where it has to go, the URL pattern as well. So let's see how I can do it in Java. I registered it. Now I need to set the context. Servlet context dot set servlet context, and this is my context. Okay, perfect. Now I need to register this truck config as a dispatcher, right? So servlet registration dot dynamic. Guys, dynamic is a static variable or static object which is available. That's why I am accessing using the class name. Okay, servlet equal to servlet context dot add servlet. You can name anything. In our case, I was naming truck management. Right now, let's go with the dispatcher for easy understanding, because I've been speaking about dispatcher from long time. You can name anything. Again, dispatcher. New dispatcher servlet. Dispatcher servlet. And it will accept context as a constructor argument. So the context is my IOC. If you remember when I'm speaking about web.xml initially, so I asked a question, who will create our container for us? So I told you dispatcher servlet, so like this. This is a good example for that. This is a good candidate to explain. Now everything is fine. Did I register my URL pattern? I mean, did I specify how it has to behave when some kind of request comes? Let's say /login. So whether it has to accept /login or not. Let's see. Servlet dot add mapping. See, and that's slash. And you need to load it at the time of initialization. Servlet dot set load on startup. Maybe first, it doesn't matter. You can load it on the second instance, next, like first and second, third, like that. And that's all. You have your configuration ready to run the application. So now, have you observed any of web.xml or any XML files which we used? Any configurations? Any configurations using .xml? Forget about this, guys. This is a different one. Not dealing with this. We are dealing with this. I created in a different place. Let me copy this. Sorry guys, I created in a different application. I don't want here. Okay. So any questions on that? All I did is just replicated the exact behavior of the XML files what we had in a previous project. That's all, guys. I didn't do anything new. So any questions? or any concerns or any suggestions? Okay, before executing this, let's go on a quick break. And after the break, we will try to summarize and then we'll continue our session. Thank you guys. We please try to be back by 10 minutes probably. Okay, sorry for that, guys. Save. So it's not able to insert data. There's a problem again. Insert into truck details, VIN number, model year. Yesterday exception is primary key. So there exists a key already. So I'm trying to insert the same key. That's why we are having this issue. Again, problem with the data. Now let's give this appropriate value. Let's say AP03 HX009. I guess there is one already. 0098. Okay, this is YCD 651. Save. Truck added insert successfully. Let's refresh. Truck details. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, perfect. Okay, before going to service, I missed something in our AOP. That's why we're not able to insert. Let's debug that. What did we miss? But guys, before going there, do you have any questions? Because I did so many things in the debugging mode and very fast. So there was an issue with the query initially. So the query was I'm not able to insert IDs. So that is a problem from our backend. So yesterday I showed you guys how to insert a default value, and by mistake I committed that, right? And I forgot to check it as an auto increment. That means our ID should be incremented automatically. So that's what I did. I didn't do anything specific unrelated to the to our project. So any questions on that? So no questions. I'm not able to see the controls. Okay, let's try to debug our problem with the AOP. What about that? Where is our AOP? So I enabled perfect. That is good. Aspect. I created a component. That is also good. Logging before the method I created. That is good. User. Perfect. I did good. Right. What else am I missing? Join point. Java.lang.join point, and it's before. It's lang.before. Stereotype component. Perfect. Join point. Perfect. So I'm specifying it as an execution star anything com.truck.da. Okay, what is my truck DAO? Okay, so let me remove this. I don't want it here. I don't want any ambiguity. Delete. Here it comes. I understood the problem. Okay, here you go, guys. Our call is never coming to this method. If you remember correctly, I created this method to show you guys how AutoWire works, how to resolve the conflicts, right? So now in our aspect programming, I mentioned go to truck DAO, right? But our call will never go to truck DAO. So we are using truck DAO IMPL. So I have to use truck DAO IMPL here. That's all. Truck DAO IMPL and everything same. Now let's quickly see that how it executes. run as on server. Okay. Close that. I don't want that. So I'm going back to login. So valid 1, 2, 3, 4 again 0 4 truck model QX 30. That's okay. The year 2013, 2015. Total kilometers is a brand new. Let's save it. Yeah. Okay. Now let's check the logs. Okay. I'll enlarge it for you guys. So can you see that logging before the method? So, and we are getting the return type of the method. It is int. I told you the signature, right? However the signature is, it will be printing here. So it's com.truck.truckdavo.impl add truck details string, and the variables I printed. So let's see what kind of input we are getting. So it's a truck details, VIN number, whatever we just inserted, and license, model, year, previous owner, total kilometers, and the username who is inserting that. So did you guys get what is AOP? Did you guys understood at least 1% what exactly is AOP? Did I do any changes in my truck DAO IMPL code here to print that? Am I logging it here? So it is add truck details. Am I logging it here? So I'm not logging it here anything. What I'm doing is I'm telling my AOP to execute before execution of this method. So now execution will be like from service. Well, let me put that. Where is a notate? Okay, from service layer. This is service layer. Whenever the call comes to the DAO, okay, DAO layer, and I specified AOP, okay, look after all the methods and match only the parameters. It doesn't matter. The name of the method doesn't matter. So this doesn't matter. What matters? These things matters, right? So now AOP will be looking after this method, this class AOP. Whenever it encounters these parameters, okay, the AOP will be executed. So the flow will be now AOP, and then the flow continues. It doesn't matter with whatever the whatever we are doing here, just logging, and the flow continues back to view, back to controller and view eventually. So that is how it works. Now understood, guys? Any questions on that? I hope at least maybe you got like 20% at least on AOP. What is AOP? Guys, yes, no, yes, no.
Yeah, clear.
Okay. Sorry about the recording, guys. I didn't notice. Now, what are the other options available in AOP? Right now, what we did is just before execution of the method. Now, what are the other options I have available? Let's quickly go to our aspect. So you can something like after. So which means if your method is executed successfully without any exception, then it will log. Else, this aspect won't be executed. Right. This is the after scenario. There is something called after exception. After throwing, not after exception. It's after throwing. That means if your method execution in, where is my DAO? If not this one, if this method execution resulted in an exception, then my aspect will be called, and then my accept. See, excuse me, sorry. then my aspect will be executed and it'll do whatever the logic you wrote there. Okay. Now let's see the other one. That is, if it throws any exception, it'll execute. Otherwise, it won't execute. Right? What is the other one? The other one is after returning. Okay, which means if there exists no exception at all, and I am returning successfully. So in our case, if we go back to here, I am returning record count. After returning this, before going to service, the call will go back to service data again. So at that point of time, my aspect will execute and it will do whatever the logic you mentioned there. So in our case, it will just print it. And there is something called, this is very powerful, guys, around. Okay, what does that mean? It is like a wrapper on top of your class. So whatever the execution which comes to your class, the truck DAO it will be wrapped around this. A aspect will be wrapped around this, and you can do whatever you want here. In fact, you can even stop the control from going to the truck DAO IMPL methods, and you can customize the response, and you can return it from here. Okay. At the same time, it will be executed before and after as well. So any questions on that, guys? So no questions. I know I can assure you that you'll be working very limitedly on this aspect oriented programming, but anyway, you should have a good idea about this. If you ever encounter such kind of expressions or such kind of annotations, it'll be easy for you if you know what exactly it is. Now, any questions on any topics which we covered so far? So I'll keep it fall back to before. Right. If you don't have any questions, I will tell you guys the tomorrow's agenda, what we are going to discuss. I thought I'll be having like 15 minutes of time to recap everything, but anyway, we will do the quick recap tomorrow. So tomorrow we will discuss about how many of you guys know SOA architecture. Turn on your mics and tell me, please. SOA. How many of you guys know web services? And what is the need for web services? Then what is Spring Boot? What is the need for it? Need for it. What are the features of boot? Features of Spring Boot. First application in Spring Boot. And if type permits, we will try to do the same web application what we did. We'll see how we can do the web application in Spring Boot. But Spring Boot is actually not meant for web applications. But I just wanted to show you even web application can be done using Spring Boot. That's all. Now, back to question 1. How many of you guys know SOA? What is SOA? No one? Okay. How many of you guys know web services?
Yes, Harish.
Service. It doesn't matter, any kind of service. Okay, then I will try to give as much as information I can from the basics, and you should be in a position to pick up because this is what we our actual syllabus is. So far, whatever we covered, that is, I want you guys to be perfect in Spring. I want you guys to understand all the modules of Spring so that it will be easy when we move towards Spring Boot applications. So to relate how we are creating objects, what is a bean, how the configurations has been handled, right? What is controller, what are the different annotations which we use so far. All the annotations will be used in Spring Boot, right? So that's why, please, before coming to class, try to review all the projects which we did and all the classes if possible, at least, okay, at least last 2 classes, because that has most of the Spring part, right guys? So again, I'm asking, if you guys have any questions or difficulty in understanding the Spring concepts, please let me know so that I can revise them quickly tomorrow, right?
Yes, Harish.
Cool. So tomorrow it will be an interesting topic, guys, since nobody responded about SOA, so it might be interesting topic for everybody. Okay, it's already time. It's 2:30 for me. I'll let you guys go, and we'll meet again tomorrow. And sorry for the recording. Thank you, guys. Talk to you guys tomorrow morning.
Thank you, Harish. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Harish.